Hello, I'm just getting myself organized, so uno momento. There we go. Hey Shirley! I had to get my Facebook going so I can see comments. Thank you for coming. All right. Let me turn the volume down on that one. There we go. Hey Shirley! Did you bring paint or do you have markers while you're here? In any case, hello! Welcome to Maya Larson Studio Rainbow Tiara Hats. As you can see, I have one. This is the Facebook Live, very casual, so if you're just watching, that's cool. I will be loading a video, thank you, I'm glad you brought both, to my YouTube channel eventually, so you guys can rewatch. Sometimes I talk fast, sometimes something just doesn't go right, you have to walk away, so it'll be available. Today we're going to run through it using markers and paint. If you're going to be joining me, hi Vicky, joining me live tonight for the Zoom call, that's just in case you didn't get a chance to keep up today, you want to do another one. The bonus will be we're going to be doing a paper plate flower. So at the end of this video, or towards the end of it, we're going to sort of paint out a starter one for that part of the class this evening so that it'll have plenty of time to dry. If you don't have time, don't worry. I've got blow dryers, I've got alternative supplies that you can use. I'm going to run you through the basics and then you can, like, it's easy peasy, right? So you can go crazy with it. Some of the examples, here, let me see if I can turn it around. Here's my ceiling. Okay, all right. So here are some samples. So this one here, paper plate, pretty standard, done with markers. I did do some metallic markers on top after, but they're not great quality, so they kind of don't shine as much as you would maybe want. This one is done with elastic bands, so that was on the supply list. If you didn't have elastic bands, that's okay. Hang on. I also have yarn. Don't have yarn? Do you have dental floss? Then grab some dental floss. It can be as easy or as, you know, complicated as you want. Okay, so that was one example done with markers. This one was done with paint. So this one is an example of something I might have done when my kids were small, because sometimes when you're looking for new projects as a mom, you know, you can have a lot of fun and it looks, you know, super nice and clean like this one, and you just might not like it. So what you can also do, let's say this is an example, underneath this is just marker, and then I did like white gesso and gold glitter over top because I just didn't like the pattern, but now it has a bit more of a tie-dye, so you could go back over it with markers or leave it as it is. This was kind of a way to take one that maybe doesn't have the pretty pattern. Hey Susan, thank you for coming. Good to see ya. And Shirley and Vicky. I don't know if anybody ever remembers the romper room, but she used to have this mirror and she would welcome people. Anyway, that's the TV show that springs to mind suddenly. So here is also an example. So these are all just done on markers. So this is the easiest way to do it today, if that's what you've got, is markers, crayons, or pencil crayons. We're going to color like this. If you have paint, we're going to use paint and talk through that. All right, so I'm going to get this going. I apologize for any noise or craziness that's happening while this is happening. Notes. I want to thank all my Glamour Possum friends who came to support me, because it feels like you're talking to yourself for 40 minutes, so. Hi Allie. Hi Devin. Thank you guys for coming. I hope you can hear me. I have to talk with like a Bluetooth speaker is a little crazy. Anywho, okay. So, paper plate hat. You need this. This is uncoated. So, I went over it in the list, but I did end up buying a package of coated ones to show you the difference. So these are cute, and you could use them, but you can see there's a shiny plastic-like texture there. If you were to use a water-based color or a heavily water-based pigment, it's just going to bead and collect on the surface. It really wouldn't soak. You could probably use acrylic paint or the backside, which is uncoated, but I mean, yeah. So if you do happen to get a set of these and the backside is uncoated, then don't panic. Just flip them over and use the backside, because you can use either side for any of these projects we're doing. I typically end up coloring on this side because I kind of like how the scalloped edge looks sideways. It kind of already gives you that. So when you're wearing it on your head, it's not pointing this way. It's actually got a nice shape to it. So that's that. So if you did happen to get some with coating on it, try using acrylic paint on it anyway, or flip it over and see if you happen to have an uncoated backside. If not, you could do all of this with a piece of heavy watercolor paper and just cut it. Take a plate from your kitchen, draw a circle on your watercolor paper, cut it out, and then start with this. It is a project that can lend itself to so many different substrates. All right, let me get started here. So we'll start with the painted one. So the palette I am using is pink, yellow, orange, green, blue, and purple. I would recommend, if you're able, to do hot colors first, let dry, and then do cool colors, and rinse your brush in between so that stuff doesn't turn into mud. But that's not always what everybody wants either, so feel free to use whatever colors you want. If you're using tempera sticks or something of that nature, totally fine. If you're a mixed media person, just make sure whatever you're putting down first is something you can draw on after, right? That's kind of the rule of thumb for things. So I'm going to start in the middle of my paper plate, or circle, or paper. If you're using marker, start with yellow, actually. Do your light colors first if you're doing marker. We're going to do that in a second anyway, but for the painting purposes, we're going to start with the pink, and we're just going to do a circle in the center, whichever color you want. Rinse your brush. I'm going to go in, mix up a little bit of purple. I'm making a traditional rainbow sort of stripe, so purple would be out here. It's just these two colors are similar on the color scheme of things, so if I don't get all the paint off my brush, I'm not really wrecking a color. Thanks again, everybody, for coming. If you're just tuning in, we're making rainbow paper plate tiara hats. Right now we're just laying down the rainbow. If you have markers and you're watching, you can go ahead and start coloring with markers. Again, basically you're going to do concentric circles in the colors you want, but if you don't want to do concentric circles, don't feel I'm restricting you. This is one I made using markers, and I just went in a starburst pattern from the center, and then you're going to split it in the end. This one was a fun one. This one was, pardon my sniffles, cityscape, but I was also exploring the idea of making marks on the paper with people who might not, you know, youngsters, preschoolers. I do some local programming with an organization to do art classes for kids, and we're doing some stuff on spring break, so I was thinking easy ways to make marks, because sometimes children feel very intimidated, even with the chaos layer, which for us glamour possums seems like, woohoo, right? Making a mess, putting paint on paper, but it is actually very intimidating, and I think maybe those of us who remember our first time exposure to it, yeah, at any age, it's chaos. Like, what do you mean I just have to make a mess on this canvas? Are you crazy? Well, thanks, Shirley. I'm glad you like the starburst. Yeah, so those are easy ways to put lines on paper that can look flattering at the end, because a lot of times arts and crafts can get a little complicated, and then you get disappointment, especially when I do children's classes and sometimes into my adult classes, that it doesn't look as good as somebody else's. Okay, so we've done pink and blue, so we're gonna, or pink and purple, so we'll do some blue. Stay in the cool color family. It's okay if your blue and your purple kind of smear together. they're closer to family, so it's not bad if they do. And then feasibly you could bring in your green on your blue too. If you don't want too much bold color, just rinse your brush. I'm gonna do it the basicest way, the way you could do it with your kid and enjoy it. And I mean, this idea can transfer to any theme, right? You could do graffiti hearts on the plate and tear it in half and wear them for Valentine's. You could do an Easter theme. You could make it a Christmas theme. I mean, the sky's the limit when you take the idea and just apply it. For those of us who are in the Insider Studio, when Amanda said her color was yellow, I was like, oh my god! And then I saw how many other people it was too, and it is such a universal color. When I do like a mandala spin art class with kids and you need to use more of an ink or a dye, I can't live without yellow. I use so much yellow. I have to buy a full-size food coloring of yellow and just a tiny bit of red and blue, because of all of the yellow I end up wanting to splash on at the end. Because if you just use red, yellow, and blue, you get all the colors, and if you keep it clean enough and you just add that splash of yellow, it can look so intense. So that's a very pretty rainbow, right? Pretty basic. Let dry or blow dry, which maybe I can do. I just want to keep an eye on time. Hang on. It's 3:12. Oh yeah, we got like 45 minutes, so plenty of time. All right, now, so this is your basic insert. How you want to decorate here can have some possibilities. As we will explore in the paper flower element in the Zoom class later tonight, cutting the edge can really have a really fun effect. This is wet, so I would dry it before folding it, but you could fold it to cut, so you're not having to cut all the way around, and it would be very even and symmetrical. But you could just cut as a circle and enjoy the irregularity of the shape and create more of a scalloped shape at the end, or you could, you know, cut in some nice triangle shapes and have more of a pointy hat. I do a lot of feminine art, but I do have a son, so not every boy wants a rainbow hat that necessarily has, you know, the clouds and feather element. So if they're looking for more of a dynamic kind of energy to their rainbow hat, you could definitely suggest cutting in like more of a crown shape, lightning bolts. I mean, let the person's symbols fly. Okay, so I'm going to rinse my brush. And I'm going to do stripes into my edge. You can do anything you like. So just stick to the one color and go all the way around. That way you're not mucking up your water. This is a really quick craft that you can do with girlfriends for a wine night. Like, this was really inspired by the Mandala Rainbow class that we've all been to, but the Yaya Sisterhood, I love that whole idea of making your special hat. And you know, definitely I've got glitter here today. I also went out and found some feather fun, but for a book club on a Zoom, you know, crazy hats could be a lot of fun. I know pre-pandemic I had aspirations to join like a high heel club, or you know, a fancy shoe club, and you go out and have coffee in your fancy shoes, because I never wear fancy shoes. I've always stood for a living, and there's no way I can stand with heels, but I could definitely tolerate a couple hours, you know, in a fancy place having a fun coffee. So since that kind of went out the window, I'm enjoying other ways of connecting. Online classes. Oh, thanks, Allie. Allie's from New Zealand. Ooh, I wonder what time is it where you are? It's probably a little late. I have lots of friends I found when I first started doing Facebook overseas, so I always try to remember like 7 hours difference. And then my friend Carol lives in Australia, so that's like a whole other day. And Allie's in New Zealand. I have another friend Shirley in New Zealand. So you're definitely going to want to let it dry, or if you have a handy little blow dryer like this, and don't go too close. You don't want the paint to crack and peel, but it's just a nice way to sort of speed things up. That's going to dry slow. Alright, so TV magic. I have some here. These aren't necessarily your stereotypical. Oh, it's 7:20 a.m. Oh my goodness. Good morning, Allie. I hope you're enjoying a coffee outside and it smells beautiful. We haven't quite gotten spring yet here, so any day it rains or I can smell the grass, I am in heaven. Alright, so here are some other examples. So once you're done painting, before you go ahead and tear it in half, if this is all, let's say, you wanted to do, absolutely, you know, pause here and we'll get to the next step shortly. But a fun thing to do, of course, I have paint pens, and 4 seconds before I went live, I went, oh wait, where did I put them? So here are some. I do find that Michael's had a Craft Smart one, and it comes in a gold container like the Art Deco one that's recommended by Amanda Evanston, and that was my favorite, but it is also very hard to find. Jane Davenport has some fun sparkly markers, and then so does Sharpie. So depending on what level of glam you need, you can explore that. But this is a fun time to add some more embellishments. Let's say it's for, you know, your positive affirmations. This was inspired by sisterhood and connection and rainbow, which is a symbol of communication and sharing in many cultures. So absolutely, you can watch your glue gun. It's on. Ow. If anybody does a lot of Zentangle, I mean, the more marks the merrier, really. And you can get directive with it, like only put marks this way or that way, but like I work with a lot of kids, so my projects tend to be like as simple as possible. I'm not sure why, but I always like my fat marks with my marker, and my son Wyatt and I actually do fight over the king size Sharpie. I find it in his coloring area pretty regularly, and I know as a good mom, if I want, when I come home from the dollar store with one of these and put it out on the art table today, score mom points. So what you won't do as a parent, right? So that's one example. You could also do, if you've got matte medium, I was going to explore this, but I tend to get too idea crazy, and collage. You could do floral collage. You could do, if your children have like a favorite TV show or character that they like to watch, you know, make a birthday party and then have them glue on gems from the dollar store, or, you know, like Raid Your Craft Stash. They could glue just about anything to a paper hat for a short term, so sky is truly the limit. One way to have fun would be I tend to run out of paint pens more than I can afford to buy them, and I often buy some really inexpensive fabric paint because of the container it's in. It's already in a squeeze and dot container. No, I wouldn't recommend putting this on paintings that you want to go into a museum. It's fabric paint for sure, but it is definitely great as white paint if you don't have a white Posca pen, or your white Posca pen is not working, or you're just frustrated with paint pens, which can happen, or if you want to add some glitter. I know glitter is like a 4-letter word to some parents, but with this project, if you wanted to get your glitter level down, you can do that, and then what I recommend is you go over it with some just liquid varnish. You could do spray varnish, but then you gotta go outside, and where I live it's like 10 months of winter most of the year, so I don't want to be out in the garage spraying varnish and then dealing with fumes and cold. Yeah, so I use the Liquitex varnish, although one of my amazing friends from the Insider Studio sent me this as a rack gift. Thank you so much. Oh my god, I love it. I hadn't tried golden varnish before. It's a little thicker than I'm used to, but it's beautiful. Really enjoying it. So here I just put on my dots with some fabric paint, and I'm going to grab glitter. And then yeah, once you put varnish over top, if your children want to wear it around the house, you're not constantly vacuuming up glitter every time they wear it. It also makes it easier if you varnish on top of a glitter layer to do paint pen work. Like I said, you could really have a lot of fun with this idea and make them quite elegant looking, and you could do tiered layers, and I think I will explore doing those kinds of things, but I probably wouldn't do them in a live right now. I would just load them to my YouTube. Alright, I'm going to shake this glitter off somewhere responsibly. And not just on my floor. There we go. So you got a little bit of shimmer now, which is a lot of fun. So that's one way to go about it. We've got marker mark making, glitter. What time is it? Glitter from Devon. I know, right? Problem with glitter was that silly analogy. Well, it's not a silly analogy. It's an accurate analogy they used to sort of show how far the COVID virus can spread by how far glitter can end up. And then I have to laugh because my husband has been in conversations with other males who have looked at him and wondered why on earth he has glitter on his ear, and trying to give an answer to that. Nah, it's guys, they'd never believe him. But needless to say, I try to curtail how far the glitter spends. So let's see here. So let's go through the next stage of how you would make the hat before I sort of waste time showing you how to color it, because everybody knows how to color. And that's the last thing I want to dictate. So you can, if you don't have scissors, the base of this craft, right? Like I said, you could use dental floss, watercolor paper, and tearing it. So you just want to tear it in half. Make sure your fold is really good, especially if you've got, like me, a couple layers of paint. Okay, that's not a good example, but in the past generally doesn't shred like that. Okay, so scissors are a wonderful utensil. Okay, so you want to kind of pop that. And you see how neatly that just kind of already scallops back? And then poke a hole in either side. So if you don't have a hole punch like this, that's fine. You can use a skewer, put it down on something safe. I would say 1 thumb length in, so that you're just not ripping out. These aren't going to last forever. If your kids decide to yank on both ends of it, it probably will tear in half. However, the one I'm wearing goes on and off, and it's been on and off a few times while I've prepared for this class. So if you go in at least an inch, it'll be secure. There we go. Easy. Okay. So the one I'm wearing, I'm going to take it off. Ooh. Has elastics. I like that, so it just, I don't know, if you happen to have a big hair day, it still fits, because of course you'd wear this more than once. Or you can definitely use thread, which I have, just string, this one, yarn, and you just want to measure gently on the back of your head and kind of do a knot, and then if you don't want a string trailing along the side of your face, just trim it. So you can see here I've sort of put some there, and you can kind of imagine, right? These could get pretty ornate, and I mean, you could take these outside, varnish them, and then spray paint them with gold metallic spray paint, and they'd probably look almost like a gold foil, and then you could, you know, Mardi Gras, oh my gosh, any of the festivals where you could get away with wearing a flashy hat would be so much fun. But how are you doing? This one's pretty dry. And just for the sake of having done it in every format possible, here is the quick and dirty way to do it with markers. Let us do it in a circular pattern first. So I generally say if you're going to use markers, start with your lightest color first, because markers you can't, once you put dark, it doesn't come lighter. Like a watercolor, you'd have to use some kind of alcohol or something to create a change in the color, and that would probably disintegrate the paper. So try and make it as big as possible, because of course you're going to tear in half. You could mark it off if you feel the need to. Now, one way that's easy is to move the paper plate and hold your marker still. And this one is a great technique if you've got really small children or children who cannot hold a tool in any way and you need to help them keep the implement in their hands, then at least somebody can stabilize an arm and you just go around the paper. And then you just work your way through your rainbow colors. You can also, go right around. Oh yeah, Roaring 20s, exactly. The flappers, that's good imagery there, Vicky, for sure. I love it. And I love that era too. I love Art Deco. I'm a big fan of the Surrealist movement and the Impressionists and stuff, and there's a really big overlap in the latter part of the 1800s and the early part of the 1900s between all of those movements. So it's really neat to see the elements that you can find, and books that sort of talk about when different artists from different genres happen to overlap and meet. I find that fascinating. I'm slowly learning more about Van Gogh because of a recent collage, and I think there was a movie recently with a actor that's name escapes my brain right this second. Willem Dafoe, maybe? I don't know. I'll have to Google it. Anyway, so colors are easier to apply. Since I can't find that one, you can introduce pattern. If you love Zentangle, this project can occupy a wealth of time. You can make it in layers and stages. You could do a whole chaos layer on this and then do floral hats and have like a secret garden party and meet your best friends for tea. Hats are a pretty interesting thing as far as human beings' rituals go. It's how we highlight our ego, our best self. We draw attention to our head, right? Chiefs and stuff, and some of the ancient symbolism that's come down. I was reading recently on the subject of alchemy for a project I'm working on, and captain hats actually sort of symbolize the symbol of Virgo, or Libra, the scales of balance with the whole line, and then the bubble line on top. And if you think of the Captain Crunch, you can totally see that shape in there. So it's kind of neat to see what things we keep as a culture and how the meaning gets diluted over time. Sort of a long-term infinite space game of telephone. But rainbow hats are a great theme. Just my advocacy in art basically is to do art. I think if you were to draw a rainbow every day, that in itself would be like eating an apple. Just exploring color, touching color, looking at color with your eyes, allowing yourself to sort of tune into color, I think is probably more powerful than we have the science and technology yet to really illustrate for people. Oh, Eternity's Gate with William Dafoe. Okay, cool. Thank you, Carolee. Yeah, and that was an art movie about him, wasn't it? I think so. Oh, Taffy's downstairs. The family is lovingly waiting me out, so I wish to thank them. I have been making rainbow art probably since I was attuned to Reiki in 2009. I have always loved rainbows and stars since childhood, but this process of creating art and rainbows when I was getting ready today and sort of thinking back, like it's been ongoing. It's been a theme. So I'm kind of grateful to be able to explore it with people instead of, by myself. So here's easy peasy pattern. Nothing too crazy. It looks more like a rainbow after you cut it in half. And that's kind of the neat thing about this project too, if you wanted to explore the theme of sharing, right? Everybody can make one half or another, and you could split it with your friend. You could even mail them out, right? We could do a swap where I send you half of a rainbow and you decorate it and forward it. and then we could all like meet online with the finished results. Now I really haven't given that any thought, but I really like that idea. That sounds exciting. Anywho, okay, so here's your rainbow. There it is. Now we're going to show you some paper plate flowers, because that is going to be later. So I think everybody's kind of got a basic idea of how to make a paper plate hat. I'm going to show you the last step of gluing on the clouds and stuff, and then I'm going to show you how to paint out your bottom layers for a paper flower. And then tonight in our Zoom call, we're going to explore this process again. So that could be repetitive, but if you just sort of were able to tune in more visually this time instead of working along, you'll be able to kind of know ahead of time what we're doing, and then have a finished hat by the end of the Zoom call. Or maybe you just want more, you know, be able to ask questions directly where I can see them, which will be there. I think so far there's 15 people for the Zoom call, so we'll just sort of see how it goes. And it doesn't have to be a full hour if we're all kind of, if we've got our stuff done and everybody's ready to tune in. I mean, it's Saturday. We don't need to be too long. Okay, so you're going to measure your head, and you're going to attach your string, your dental floss, your elastic bands, whatever you want. If you want to glue on your cotton balls with regular glue, because you don't have hot glue, that's fine. Just don't touch your hat for at least a day. You're going to have to let that dry, because that is the nature of cotton balls. So I would say for the right look, you maybe want 3 cotton balls per side, but you could just do 1, so we'll start there. I glue them over top of the hole. It's so that hot glue kind of reinforces the background of that hole, so it's less likely to shred right through the corner through repeated use, which I firmly believe we're all going to get out of these hats for whatever reason. You're just going to wear it because, dang it, I made one. I know I want to run upstairs after this and say I did it, and not take my hat off and eat my dinner with my hat on so that my family can watch me. When I worked in hair, one of the things to do if you were having just a crummy bummy day and you're interacting with the public a lot, so you got to find it in you to smile, was to wear or do something silly and just try and work with it. So I was prone to wearing funny mouse ears and things of that nature, just to kind of break up the shop space. So that's your basic hat. It's not more complicated than that. I just want to say you can go in so many directions when it comes to designing it. Now, having said that, this here is a lovely piece, but it also could work for the paper flowers. So I'm going to show you some examples of paper flowers. Tonight we're going to do a really simple one, but I am going to develop some tutorials. So here we've used a cupcake wrapper, 2 of them, and then we've got a paper plate, a coffee filter, and another paper plate, and a brass fastener, and that is literally all that holds it together. You can double them up and have double-sided paper flowers. If you were going to do, say, like a cascading effect inside the middle of a room, you could double them up so whenever you walk by them, people see a flower on the front and a flower on the back. If you're doing more of a wallflower effect, which we're doing tonight, which is more like this, we're going to leave this back layer untouched, I think. And I'll tell you why. Because as fun as this one is, the second you scallop in these layers and cut in, what happens as they hang is this. So if you want more cutting detail, I will recommend that you omit the brass fastener and embrace the hot glue gun, and then that way you can make sure that it stays nice and pressed together, and then when you hang it from whatever surface you're going to hang it from, it doesn't suddenly pop open and sort of haphazardly dangle. If that's not something you're worried about, then absolutely you can go ahead and cut into the back, scallop those edges. That's what I was talking about in regards to this, is you could get creative with your edging You can also get creative with what's on the back here. I mean, there's nothing saying you couldn't, hang on, add some, you know, ruffle texture by doubling up, or even, you know, sprinkling up a layer of tissue paper on the back, and you could do sparkly tissue paper, and you could cut out an insider's studio cityscape and make that into your hat. So if you're a big fan of the Big Apple or New York and you're having a party that celebrates New York, you guys could, on watercolor paper, just make sure the width is appropriate, right? Like at least an 8x10 sheet of watercolor paper, and you can make buildings and skyscrapers, which could be more fun for you know, city theme, or if your boys want to do it and they're not into rainbows and flowers, you know, you've got some options. But yes, so for tonight, we're going to explore making a paper flower. We're going to do the basic shape. So this, for example, is going to be this piece here. Like I said, we're going to make wallflowers. So wallflowers just hang one-sided, and I find if you leave that back as simple as possible, it really creates a clean collection. So that way, if you and your children wanted to make a whole bunch, if that back is either one color or at least not cut, they all stay nice and straight, and they all display really pretty. So this is the style we're going to do tonight, which is basically like this one stuck to this. So you'll see all of this glorious, wonderful painting on the inside is kind of irrelevant. All you need is those outer edges. So that is what I'm going to do with you right now. And then I'm just going to kind of catch up on messages. Does anybody have any questions for me or wondering about anything? I'm not sure if I'm talking too fast, or if you want me to show you something, another idea for leftover paint. Yes, exactly. Absolutely. No reason to waste anything anymore, right? All right, let me see. So we'll show you the outer edge. So I would say, if you're going to join me tonight, that you want to kind of do the little bit of that Donna Dewberry one-stroke painting, because that is the fastest way to get more than one color on a surface without getting muddy. So I am going to mix a bit of the water from my gross water. As you can see, it's not the greatest color. A little bit of white and a little bit of yellow. Okay. Pardon my sniffles. Ugh. Well, definitely clean your brush. Okay, don't do that. I'm gonna hang on. Hang on. That was like the worst. Okay. So as you can see here, I've got two colors on this brush, and then just flick it out. Strokes do have energy. I definitely loved learning that. Oh my gosh, it's really changed how I approach my work. And you know, when the art listens, it can also feel that vibe from you, from the inside out, right? So one of the fun things, yep, you could definitely use it as a chaos layer, and then that way you don't have to, I need it to look like this. I need each layer to be absolutely perfect. Like, don't get caught up in that. So just, if you buy a, I think it was $2.50 for 40, yeah, right here, 40 plates. $2.25. So sit down one night, have a blast, make 40 plates. Chaos, just crazy paint layers, you know, scribbling, affirmations, rock tunes, whatever you know, want to do on the back, because you know, if you don't like it, we all know you can paint right over it. And if you've got paint, I mean, put it in the middle. Just know that whatever you want to see isn't going to necessarily be seen by coloring that middle stage. So do want color two of your plates for tonight's class. And do the other plate. Let's do a green background. So this might end up being the inside layer here. So see, this is a layer, paper plate here. This is paper plate. This was actually a rainbow paper plate that ended up as the heart of one of my flowers. Oh, okay. Thanks, Allie. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Again, good morning. So 340. Okay, yeah, so we're going to paint this one green. This one will be the back. if you wanted it realistic. Now, a fun thing, if you guys are with me on Instagram, because I will slowly go through all of the flowers that I've mentioned today, is to make a water lily, right? And water lily pads have a very flat bottom that's like a disc. So it would be a lot of fun to kind of use this and make water lilies that could stand upright in a cup or sit on your piano or your dresser, you know, beside your bed, wherever you like to see water lilies. And that would be fun. If you guys did enjoy doing this and you want to share, you're welcome to just message it to me, or you can tag me in Rainbow Tiara Hats. I'll post the hashtag to the page once I sign off, and if I can save this video, because I know a few friends of mine weren't going to be able to make it, it'll either be available here on Facebook or I will save it to my Instagram as well. Although, like as I said, I'll post it here as well. There is a YouTube video. It's a very short one. It just runs through the basic outline of this again. It was where I made the initial demonstrations for you guys, so you can check that video out for reference, or stay tuned for more. If you're joining me tonight and you have any questions, let me know. Just message me. I'm pretty sure I've given everybody the Zoom link that is joining me, but if somebody happens to jump on last minute, oh, thank you guys for coming. Are you kidding me? 4 people, the best people on earth. I love it. I love it. Okay, let me turn this around so you can... Oh, there's my... Oh, hey, wait a second. Hang on. That is my possum drive sign from Carly, which I love. Here's my crazy space. My husband was pretty cheesed that I was making stuff look professional, because there's the craziness that exists behind it, even though I didn't want to do that. Oh, and I did have tissue for the potted plants we did in class. Mine horribly stuck to it, and that's fine. I managed to get quite a bit off, so I'm going to try it later. Another day. Yeah. But thank you guys so much for coming. My studio, in my imagination, there's like space on a wall with like how I see people have really, I'm buying a really large canvas tomorrow. I'm so excited. Where to paint it though, right? So I'm gonna have to put it on my floor. Thanks, Vicky. Yeah, I like my space. I remember my kitchen in the last house. That was my space, and my poor family didn't have much say. The piano was covered. It was my grandfather's piano. I don't play piano. I love the piano, so it was like mine. So that's where most of the art went. I will have fun tonight. Thank you, Shirley. Thank you, everybody. I look forward to seeing everybody through Zoom. Yeah, again, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, definitely message me. Otherwise, I will leave the YouTube link on the discussion page, and I will throw up the hashtag if you guys want to share. If you don't want to share on social media, I'm just that kind of curious person, so please feel free to message me or email me with your flowers, because I like to see where it goes. But otherwise, yes, thank you so much. Lovely to see you. Have a great St. Patrick's Day this week. I wish you guys lots of gold, magic, and luck, and all the best.